Welcome Strategy Battle Gamers to another GBHL YouTube channel video. You are here with your channel host GBHL James, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. Today we have Davies, who's GenerationShift. Hello there, Matt.
Hey guys.
As you can see, you can hear him there in the background. And we are actually doing an army showcase video today. We've not done one of these for a little while, and it's a perfect opportunity to do it because, of course, Matt, you've got a pretty good reputation, a reasonable reputation, I would say, as being a very good painter. Would you agree with that?
Well, thank you, sir.
That's a nice way of saying I agree with that. Okay, so we are actually going to be showing Matt's Haradrim army today. So you want to talk us through it?
Yeah, so this is everything I've got painted at the moment. So I've got loads to add to it still, as do we all. But yeah, so in front of you here we have 12 spearmen, 12 bowmen, 12 Abrakan guard, Solodan, Hasharin, and the Golden King. So obviously I've separated out to little war bands, but I can talk through what I've done. Yeah, that'd be absolutely fantastic.
So first of all, let's talk a little bit about the colour scheme. So you have gone for a pretty traditional kind of colour scheme with those light, the kind of more pinky purples, the violets, as well as the indigos in there, some of the sort of deep red colours.
Yeah, I like to recreate everything I see on the film usually, unless there's some specific difference that I'd like to do.
Yeah.
But I'd like to create the sort of same colours.
I think you've definitely done this. This is it's definitely a good representation of the Haradrim as they're shown in the movies, and as Games Workshop portray them as well. So in terms of the army itself, was there any sort of ideas behind the army building, or is it literally because these are models that you enjoy and you like and you wanted to get painted up?
Yeah, literally, well, I do like these models. I think there's some really nice simplicity in the armour. It's down to the troops. I think as far as troops goes, they're very nice and ornate looking army, with little splashes of colour with the little gems and the bronzish colour of the armour, which is quite difficult to create really, a good looking bronzy goldy armour.
And what kind of things do you do that as a tip for the subscribers? So if you're going to create a good bronzy goldy armour, what do you do as a base?
Well, I tend to start with a matte colour version of what you like the armour to be. So I start with quite a rich brown as a base colour. So there you're working off quite a rich base colour for your metallics. Then you build it up, give it a nice wash, always wash with a brown colour, whether that be the flesh colour or just the usual Devil and Mud kind of Agrax's shade, I think it is now.
Yeah.
Any kind of one of your preference, but highlighting it is tricky because a lot of people, when adding silver to a gold colour, you really tend to lose the colour of the highlight. It's very hard, you have to add quite a bit. So I tend to just really fine edge highlight the armour with pure silver sometimes, but not too much, because if you do too much then it's just too garish. So that's generally my tip. And I do like to add little bits of character to the armour. I don't know if you can see, but on the van brace there,
zoom in on him now.
there are little like nicks in the armour, and that's just painted on. You can do battle damage by actually applying it to the model, but I tend to paint it on. So you use the silver colour that you're creating, but then also you provide a bit of depth to it by one side adding a line of brown, so that's quite nice, adds a bit more character to the model. And the gems are quite fun to do. There's loads of tutorials for gems all over the place. You get dark to one side and then put a dot of white in the corners, but I've found them really fun to do, especially on the Abrakan guard. But yeah, I've kept the same sort of colour scheme, and I'm quite pleased with the flesh tone that I managed to create. Now the flesh tone on these guys is slightly different to them, but I did do a tutorial on my channel for the flesh of the Abrakan guard.
So if the guys want to find out, make sure you go and check out GenerationShift on YouTube. Some good painting tutorials on there. So it's got a good overall look. Let's talk a little bit about the something else which is quite consistent amongst there, as well as the sort of nice colours that fit the Haradrim from the movies, and that is the bases. So are these the bases that you produce, is that right?
No, these are some just separate ones. It's mainly using the Games Workshop technical paints, the
Agrellan?
Yeah,
Agrellan.
the thick crack paint, like sort of that's you apply it in thick layers and it sort of cracks up.
Yeah, Jamie,
looking like dry earth. Yeah, but I wasn't pleased with the overall finish when it's just applied by itself. So I used quite a few techniques. So I think this base shows it off quite well. So if you zoom into that one there, because I didn't want it purely to be dried earth, I wanted there to be some kind of sandy texture in there. I applied the usual sand texture over certain areas of the bases, leaving like flat areas that would be filled in.
Did you do that before you put the technical paint on?
Yeah, so I did that before. So as you can see, it's kind of left an old dry riverbed, as if that was the actual side of the river, but that was the actual river.
I think it's one of the first things that really stands out with this army, as well as the fact that obviously it's got a beautiful paint scheme and theme across it, are how nice the bases look, and they don't just look like they've been done with the Agrellan technical paint. They do have that extra level. I especially like the ones that have got the little paths that are running through them, little flags and stuff. Again, is that something you've done yourself, or?
Yes, that was actually using plasticard, which I cut and applied to the bases.
Oh wow.
I didn't just actually leave it as the paint on the technical paint as well. I highlighted it up and used certain washes over the top.
Wow.
As well as applying a pigment, a desert earth pigment, which is from the AK technical range. So if you search AK, I used the rust effect for my orcs, but this is a pigment which I brushed onto the bases, and it really provided a dusty texture, which I was very pleased with. But as far as these ones, they're just hand, so if I bring the Golden King, hand carved from plasticard. I just applied them to the Abrakan guard because I wanted them to be like, these are the palace protectors.
I think it works very, very well, and it looks fantastic when you see them all across on the table. It looks really good on the frontline gaming mat here as well, I have to say. Yeah. It looks really, really good on there as a mat. And you've also got a couple of little things there at the back. Are those little water pools, are they objective markers or something? Or what?
No, because if you look at this isn't actually on a gaming base. So what I did is I magnetised this whole piece to be applied to an actual gaming place.
Clever.
Because I prefer it personally on the larger base, but I know it's tournament legal, so friendly games might be okay, but as far as that goes, it can be used normally.
That looks very, very, very cool. It's very, very cool. Now, have you had much chance to use this army in battle?
I have used a few of these. Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, I went to Warhammer World with my brother and played a game there.
We're going to have a little look here now at some of the bowmen, because there's some really nice details that people probably won't be able to see unless we zoom in. So you were just talking before about adding these bowstrings. So how did you do that? Is that just cotton?
Yeah, it's just very fine cotton and twine, which you've got to get the fine one, because if you've got a really thick bowstring, then it looks rubbish.
You said that you've actually done this effect using human hair before.
Yes.
Your own, of course. Not been going around the graveyards and stuff.
There's a lot of debated techniques out there.
Jane can give you some. Jane's got plenty of spare hair.
Yeah, dog hair, you know.
No, he doesn't molt.
Oh, doesn't he?
You have to get it from the side.
But
and then that's also really nice detail, which again, something which you wouldn't necessarily pick up with just a quick glance. It adds to the overall effect, but wow, doesn't it look great? Yeah. What is that?
Which one?
Bamboo.
Oh, the bamboo, yeah. It's quite a flat texture there. So what I ended up doing is, as you have the ribs going down the bamboo, to paint them close to where the join is, but using a lot of creams, and then doing a final wash over the top with a brown colour really gives like a slight shine, like you see on bamboo, as well as highlighting down, provides this almost highlight effect that's like the texture of the bamboo. So it's better than just painting it cream and then with a single wash, just providing little bits of detail on it.
And it's all of those little bits of detail accumulated which have made this look like an absolutely spectacular army, has to be said.
Yeah, so you can see more of the bamboo there.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Really cool.
And then obviously that's applied to the blowpipe there as well.
Absolutely fantastic.
Really fun to paint. A lot of rich colours, so I like using rich colours, but in a realistic manner as well.
So let's have a little bit of a look at some of the heroes, and let's start off with Suladan at the front. Now, you've gone for a model which generally, I have to say, I'm not a huge fan of. I'm not a huge fan of the aesthetic of the kind of almost Middle Eastern looking and going for that kind of look. However, you have done a very good job with him. I think it's one of the nicest ones that I've seen. Tell me a little bit more about him and what made you decide to go for that version. And what led you to go for some of the design ideas on that guy? Some of the colour choices.
Well, if you look at the design of the Serpent Guard and Serpent Riders, they are much in keeping with this version of Suladan than the newer version. And I generally, having painted this model, prefer it. I think the cloak is a lovely piece of sculpting from Games Workshop. It's a nice version of Suladan, and I still think it keeps in with the Haradrim feel. And so a few little things that I've done. The leather, I was quite pleased with the highlighting of the leather on his tunic. I think it provides a nice little surface area with little squares. But the mask was fun because I applied the same technique as the golden and bronze metal. But that together with the flash of the purple sash on his head, I think it works really well.
Yeah, that does look cool. Like I say, I've never really sort of taken a good heed really of his cloak, but yeah, the cloak is pretty nice. Let's have a little look at the mounted one. What made you decide to go for a white horse?
Purely because, well, that was how the original model was painted. White horses aren't easy to paint, as you probably know yourself.
Oh yes.
But I was quite pleased with the texture that I managed to finish up with. I painted this quite a while ago, but there's a few little sculpting defects. As far as the tail is concerned, the tail isn't particularly well sculpted. So as you can see with the washes showing off some of the tail defects, but I do think it's a lovely horse model, is that with the armour on the crest of the horse. But
I'd agree with that, it's very cool.
Yeah.
Have you ever painted the other Suladan model before?
no, I don't own him actually. No, it's one of those.
It's coming your way.
Well, I'd love to paint him. I just don't like the armour as far as the big tusks on his chest. It wouldn't make physical sense in battle.
I think the whole idea behind it was that they wanted to avoid, or Weta in particular wanted to avoid there being an aesthetic which could be likened to anyone in Middle Earth, especially with the Haradrim depicting bad guys. They didn't want them to be like a bunch of Middle Eastern, Arabic, and I think there's the tendency to go that way, and I think that's why they were a bit unhappy with some of Games Workshop's design ideas, such as the Abrakan Guard and stuff.
Yeah.
But I do like the...
they are a bit juxtaposition in the Middle Earth universe, but...
So let's have a little bit of a look at that Golden King as well. So you've gone a little bit more for the blues there with the Golden King, and you've done a bit of, is that freehand on his...
Yeah, let's put him back on the other base. I think it's easier to spin around.
Track you around. Whee! Follow you with the camera. Where are you? Where have you gone? There you are, buddy.
On the sides, I've done a bit of freehand, which was quite an interesting freehand, because I'm not only freehanding there, I'm trying to do like a non-metallic gold.
A non-metallic gold, how do you achieve that?
Well, very difficultly.
Yeah, I heard that it's a very tough skill to...
It is. You've got to take into account where the folds are, and where you would be highlighting and using very sharp highlights. It's thinking about how it would reflect. Obviously it's cloth, so it wouldn't reflect, but just adding it as if it's woven in fabric with gold thread.
That does look very cool.
I'm quite pleased with the result. Little kind of teeth going along there, and it seems to work well with the flow of the cloth, which it's a beautiful model as far as the sculpting goes on it. It's a bit of a weird model as far as Middle Earth goes, and there's a lot of people don't like it in that instance,
but we do see him dotted about every now and again because he's quite a competitive model. He's got some cool little rules.
And if you've got people on the back of elephants, then something like this really isn't that far away from Tolkien.
No, you can't really.
No.
Now, the model which drew my eye the most, I have to say, is your Haradrim. Do you want to bring him just in front of Celadan?
Is there?
That'll do, yeah. Now, I really like how you've done this guy. This is kind of more how I'm planning to paint some of my Haradrim that I have. Sort of going more for the deep reds, the blacks and the golds.
So if I show you the front there, with a rich purple as the base of his tunic and his trousers. Some of these older Games Workshop models are beautifully sculpted. There's a lot of hidden detail within the models, but there is also a lot of surface area, especially with cloaks for heroes to add your own freehand, and that's why those S's, those sort of serpents along his hood, them as well as the cloak.
That looks really cool, very unique, very different.
And I've used the same sort of non-metallic gold method on the back.
I have to learn that from you because I've tried to do that myself. Well, not tried to do non-metallic, but I've gone for that effect before. But because it being on material, I haven't used metallic paint. I've just used the Baylor brown or whatever to create that effect.
I don't think using a metallic colour on a cloak is a good idea at all.
No.
No.
I would agree with you.
I originally painted my high elves with the silver cloak, which a lot of people do. But yeah, I think the key is using a lot of creams and browns and really getting up to that final highlight.
He's an absolute beautiful model. If you were going to point out a favourite model from this force, what would you say that it is? Painting wise.
Painting wise.
What did you enjoy painting the most?
I enjoyed painting the Golden King just because I hadn't painted anything different like that before. I painted all them as one unit. I got my three colours, my blue, my black and my purple, and dotting them about so that no position has the same colouring.
Yeah.
And also, if you notice, there's a slight change to each of the weapons of these. With that one, these are the same position, but I filed down some of the weapons, so that they all have a different weapon, really.
So even though they're the same model, it just gives them that little bit of variety.
Yeah, so as you can see, that has the sort of fish bone tail thing, whereas this one has just like a point.
And it's cool little details like that
Exactly,
lots of people won't notice when they're looking for specifics. I didn't even notice that until you pointed it out, but it does contribute to the overall look of the force.
I like to not have two of the same model in my army, so even down to spearmen.
I noticed that with the orcs that you did for me.
Yeah.
I noticed that with those because
weapon swaps. They're simple things to do, but they don't go unnoticed if you properly look at the army, and it's worth it, in my opinion.
Well, it's a beautiful army, and I'm gutted that we've not got to play this one today. However, I'm pretty sure that we will try and get it down for a battle report soon if you're up for it. And I think it's a perfect army to take on all-mounted Rohan if you're up for it. Haradrim versus Rohan sounds pretty cool.
Yep.
We do a bit of a Pelennor Fields. And have you played much with this army, or
just the once, really? Once or twice. Like I say, I do a lot of painting, but I don't tend to get down to games much, so it's great when I can play a game.
Well, we'll try and make sure that we get this army on camera soon. Make sure that you as subscribers comment below if that's something you want to see. If you want to see me put together a battle report versus Matt Davies and his Haradrim force, just let us know in the comment section below. Like this video as always. And with that, it's a good point to sign off, so don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe. Support your Hobbit hobby by following us on Facebook and on Twitter. Check out Jamie on Patreon as well if you want to support him. And as ever guys, happy strategy battle gaming.